Son, of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Today the Church invite us to celebrate the Mass for peace and justice. Let us pray for peace. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Mary, seat of wisdom. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So the beginnings of human life. Plural, because there are many possibilities or many positions. We are studying the origin of the human life. And the origin of human life can be considered at 2 points of view. The origin of the individual person, the origin of my life personally, and the origin of the species, the human species, the humankind, So this morning we study the origin of the human soul. And next class we study the origin of the humankind. And of course we will speak about evolution. So a remark. We must be aware that we cannot speak about the origin of the human soul or the humankind without taking care of the discovery of science. For example, we cannot stay only to the teaching of St. Thomas, because since St. Thomas, 600 years, 700 years, many discoveries were made in the domain of life. So we have to be updated. And Father Reichman, in this book, tried to do that. You saw that last when we studied before the life, what is life, and we take benefit of the discovery of science. So, life is a fact, a scientific fact. And we studied that in biology, we studied that in philosophy, when we study what are the characteristics of life. But it is not enough. We are not satisfied only to know the phenomenon. When there is a phenomenon, oh, it's marvelous, it's beautiful. For example, you look at the sky, you go to Canada in winter, and during night you see color, light in the sky, dancing in the sky. You say, oh, marvelous. It's cold, but it's marvelous. No, you're not satisfied. What do? You see, what is producing that? We want to know the origin. And last class, what we did do? What did we do? We found the end. We speak about death, no? And after death, we spoke about immortality. So now, today, we want to know the origin. Because a phenomenon, a fact, an experience cannot be explained only in itself. The explanation must have a sufficient, demonstrate a sufficient reason, a cause. And you remember, in the cause, we have the intrinsic cause, matter and form, in the thing. So I can see that. When I see, I see a phenomenon, I can study the nature of the phenomenon, but I want to know why, what is the end of that, and what is the origin of that. And that are the efficient causes. What are the efficient causes? And what is the final cause, the end. And that is, I will say, the essence of philosophy. Philosophy is to discover the ultimate causes. Man is a curious animal. He is never satisfied. He wants to go to the extreme limit. And we have some movies on television, extreme sports. They want to go up to the brink of death, Sometimes they die also, because they go too far. So philosophy is that. So we cannot study man, the human person, without thinking about what is the origin and the cause, the final cause. The final cause, the end, after death, it's already studied in chapter 13. Now we have to study the efficient cause. How is possible that I exist, that I have a soul. What is the origin of my soul? And next class, what is the origin of man? Is man created directly like that? Or it is coming from monkey, or from fish, or from anything? Okay. So answers, of course, depend on the view of the nature of human person. But the origin, the question of the origin here depend, of course, on the philosophy of the person. If I am a materialist, will I have the same explanation of the origin as a spiritualist? No. So, of course, our conception depends on our philosophy of man. And what did we do during 13 chapters? During 13 chapters, we try to understand what is the human person, to create, to form in our mind a philosophy of man. Of course, our way of considering man is not the same as materialist, either capitalist or Marxist, because we have a conception of man as with an entelechy, with a soul, etc., immortal soul. So, no, there is, in fact, strictly speaking, we have no direct satisfying answer. If P, then Q. You remember that? The cause and the effect. So if I know the effect Q, can I know P? I will know, but I have to study the many possibilities. It is what we are doing now. Okay? Study the many possibilities and finally made an option for one and to justify that option, because philosophy is not faith. Philosophy is a reasoning. So we have to demonstrate, to have some justification to affirm that we are created by God, for example. Okay? Our soul. So for the philosopher, those questions are very important. In fact, we are searching, even today, people who are adopted, for example, even those who are normal, not adopted, have father and mother, what they have? They want to know their ancestor. You have that on television. They say, if you want to know your ancestor, go to that site or call to that phone number, and you will know your ancestors, Or you use DNA to discover your ancestor, or what are composing you, what is the origin. We are curious to know that, okay? So the origin is not, what interests us today is not only the origin of the body, it's the origin of the soul. The principle of life. We saw life, we saw the effect, we saw the activity of a living. What are the characteristics of life? Spontaneity and immanence. Remember, the characteristic of life, spontaneity and immanence. Motion. Spontaneous motion and immanent motion. When you study, it's a motion. You assimilate, it's a motion. So life is characteristic by spontaneity and immanence. Motion, movement, many kinds of motion. It can be a spiritual motion, like an act of the will. It can be emotion, I cry, okay, emotion. So we are searching. And now how can we interpret the origin of man, of the human soul? But we know that some people affirm that there is only one reality, matter. Not we call that materialist, or materialistic approach. So there is only one reality, matter. So for materialists, they must explain the origin of life from matter. They have no choice. If I affirm there is only one reality, matter, if everything is matter, so I must explain everything from matter. So they will give you a material explanation. For example, Marx says, and Lenin said that, and in fact it's coming from Feuerbach, that the thought, thinking, is the secretion of brain. So I have secretion in my mouth, saliva. I have secretion in my brain, and that secretion, the saliva of my mind is my thought. Now that is a materialistic, but they have to explain. And they have only one way to explain, is to use a materialistic approach. Okay? So, they say here, they face no special problem, because everything is explained by matter. So if you affirm, as a first postulate, remember that the student who came to me, he said, what do you think about that book of cosmology? First number, there is only one reality, matter. Of course, it was a Marxist book, communist book. So that means if I affirm that, all the rest must depend on that. Okay? So there is no problem. Now, those who accept there is duality, that means we have a body and soul, dualist philosopher. That is here a problem for the origin. Why? If I am constituted body, my body and the soul, where is coming my soul? It's coming from my body, it's coming from my soul, it's coming from the combination of both together, it's coming from the body of my father, the body of my mother, the soul of my mother, the soul of my father. Many questions. And finally, we will see we are not satisfied with, not a single can satisfy. Finally, we are obliged to say, either the soul make itself, that is impossible, or it is created. So we arrive to creationism, creation. God create every soul one by one. He gives to everybody the principle of life. Because matter cannot do that. And we see that. Okay, we come on detail on that. So, number 2.3 in the middle of the page. Dualist philosopher opposed materialist. Materialist, I think there is only the two parents alone provide the origin, and not admit any transcendent being. But the dualist, why the parent fashioned the body? It is God who is the source of the first principle of life. Well, that is an affirmation, but that is not sufficient for us. We have to try to prove that. Why we can affirm that? Okay, that is the position. Materialist, the position of the dualist. Dualists accept that not everything is matter. There is a principle of life. That principle of life, we saw that it is spiritual. So, but how can that principle of life exist, be in a body? That is the question. Next page, 2.4, so the problem. For example, can the parent alone explain the origin of a person? So we see first possibility. Or if the parents are the sufficient cause of the origin of the human life, then how can I explain the origin of the new individual human soul? Because the soul, your soul, my soul, even my DNA are not the DNA of my father. My soul are not the same as the soul of my... How can I explain that a baby, when he's born, he has his own soul? Can we divide the soul of the mother, half of the mother, the soul, cut the soul in two, apart, a call for the father, we put that together with glue, spiritual glue, and we have a new. No. Why? Because soul is indivisible. We cannot divide. So the soul of the child cannot come from the parent. Can the soul pre-exist, be real, actual, real, before the existence of the first cell? It's impossible. Why? Because the soul is animating this body. The soul is, we saw that before, the soul is the form of a body, this body. So how can the form pre-exist as individual form, so before there is a body? So we cannot accept on the pre-existence of souls. You know, some author, they say, God has a big refrigerator, and there are many souls. And when the baby is going to say, okay, I put that in the... No, they cannot pre-exist. Of course, God, they exist in God in potentiality, because knows everything. For him, everything is present. But they don't exist as individual soul. In fact, they don't exist actually, really, except potentially. Of course, they exist potentially as a potency. Because if I was not in potency 100 years ago, I will not exist today. You know, of course. So, but I was not in actuality. I was not existing as an individual. My soul was not able to exist before my body. In fact, we saw they are co-principles. They coexist. The human being, we saw, you know, everything we studied before prepared the class. We saw that the union is substantial union. Of course, if I am Mr. Descartes, I say the union is accidental. That is different. When you go to a car dealer, we have many cars. All those many cars are in potency to have a driver. When the driver sits in the car, that is accidental union. But for us, the soul is not a driver sitting in the body. It's not the same. They are co-substantial. The body cannot exist without the soul. And the soul cannot begin to exist without a quantified matter. We saw that, a quantified matter. Okay? So I read the text here. So the soul of the new existed within the soul of the parent. Another question: was I existing in the soul of my mother and in the soul of my father? So can be at two places at the same time. No. Suppose I am in in the soul of my of my mother. So what is the job of my father? at the level of the soul, at the level of the soul. Can I come from each part? No. The soul is indivisible. I cannot be a part of the soul of my mother, because the soul of my mother is indivisible. So it's spiritual. We have no other possibility than to say, because the soul is spiritual. At the same time, the soul is individual. This soul, it can exist only when the soul informs this body. And that cannot come from the father and the mother. Another criticism, dualists cannot accept that first possibility, because then there will be two souls in the father and the mother. I cannot have a part, the good thing in my mother, the bad thing in my father, no, or the contrary, no. We have to think the soul is spiritual. The soul cannot be divided. Yes, brother.
Father, when we know when the soul is incarnate into the body.
No, we don't know. We don't know when. We know when there is soul. You remember I said that in class, huh? When the first cell, okay?
Moment conception.
Yes, a conception. But when we don't know. Exactly, we don't know. We know the soul is there when the cell begins to divide and multiply. Now we can say the soul is there. But we cannot say exactly when. We cannot say that. But we are sure of a thing. When the soul begins to multiply, to organize within, from within, that is life. But it is when, we don't know. In fact, the act of creation in God is eternal. Because there is only one instant for God, you know. And for us, we don't know. We don't know.
Go ahead, Joel.
Yes?
So when the person dies and the soul and the body separate,
Yes.
does the soul go back into potency then?
No, oh, good, but I spoke about that last class. Huh? When the soul dies, it continues to be the soul of a body, the form of a body. Even there is no body, like for example, your father dies, you continue to be the son of your father. That means the relation is always there. My soul will always be related to her body, not this body, because I told you it's my 11th body. Huh? But to a body. That means the soul keeps its individuality forever.
So it is actually a soul when after death. It's not
It's
just
a soul, a personal soul with a responsibility, so you can be judged, you can be rewarded, and also you can resurrect. Because there is, but it is the soul, a body. Body is not there, but there is a waiting. We will see that. We'll speak about that. Yes.
Yes. So when you say that at the moment it starts to divide, that's when you know the soul.
We are sure. We are sure the soul was there.
But you can say we can't really say when, because when at the actual moment of conception, you can see that the genetic material hasn't yet mixed, and so there's not yet a form. But as soon as it's starting to divide, you know that.
Yeah. We are sure of only one thing. There is life in the first cell, because the first cell is animated. But we cannot say when that happened. So only God knows. And we cannot say that because we have no possibility to measure, to verify that. Okay? Yes, brother.
So, Father, when you said it's the first cell would divide, which is that is the life ready. But when we talk about life, it means control body and soul. So, what is mean we think soul is at that time ready?
The body coming, no. You know, your parent prepare a cell. Prepare the matter to become the first cell. Okay? It's not you, it is the first cell.
Yeah.
You become to exist when there is animation. That means when the principle of life make spontaneously the cell to divide, they organize in many organs. Okay? When that happens, we don't know. Maybe at the time that the cell begin to multiply, or maybe before, we cannot measure that. But what is important for us is not the time. It is the causality. The soul must be there at the first cell. Is the reason why the first cell is a human being. Because he has the body and soul. With another science prove that we have our DNA is there, our chromosomes are there, we have our ID card is there. And all the other cells will have the same ID card, the same DNA. You know? But the first one, when DNA is God taking us to the soul.
So can you go back to, like, I know we covered it on last chapter, differentiation and how that explains the relation between that, the DNA, and that dividing shows that there is life. I don't understand how that's related.
You know, we know life through spontaneity. Huh?
Okay.
When the motion is from within.
Right.
The first cell suddenly begins to divide, begin to grow, begin to multiply. And that is not coming from outside.
Yes.
It's coming from within.
Yes.
Huh? Within. And that is a proof that life is there.
Okay.
And life is the human soul. Because we don't have three lives, three souls, only one. Huh? So that means at the beginning, the first cell is a human cell. It's not the cell of a cat, the cell of a mouse, the cell of a horse. It's the cell of a human being. Is the reason why we say from conception to that. But the conception is not a conception. It is the act itself, or conceive. And one will become man, human. When God put the, we don't know, but we know the effect. In fact, how we can know spiritual realities in our life? Only through the effects, through our activity. And what is nature? Remember what is nature? Is this the essence as principle of activity. So we know who we are through our activity. The same I know if we are, you understand, through your activity when you play logic, when you play at the exam. Huh? Okay?
Father,
Yes.
if we don't know when the soul goes to the body, so I think someone who support for abortion, they say that the cell is not a person, so people have a right to abort.
No, no. The first cell is already a human being. That is scientific. We do as a point of view science. It is a human being, the mother of a human being. DNA, the chromosome, the ID card, everything is there. But if the cell multiply, divide by itself, it cannot come from outside, it comes from within. That must be a principle of organization, a principle of programmation is there. But when that begins, we see the effect. We don't see the origin. We know the origin, but we don't see exactly. In fact, I told for God it is out of time. For us, we can know. We cannot know. Impossible. Because it is a spiritual activity. And nobody can see that. So we cannot know that. But we can know there is soul as soon as the first cell is broken. Okay? Well, I will come back. Okay. No, it's very, very important. Huh? If you understand that, you understand why we say from conception to death. The first cell is a human cell. Okay, that is. Okay. The second possibility, I go to 4.2. So the soul of the child cannot come from the parent, because there will be no way of explaining how the offspring could possess a soul that is subsistent immaterial. Why? For two reasons. First, because the subsistent and material soul could not be induced from material principle, from the body of the parent. That is clear. Secondly, the subsistent immaterial soul cannot be fashioned or drawn from the parent soul, because we cannot divide the parents. Okay? So the human soul is not an addition of souls. The soul of the father with the soul of no. It is a new, totally a brand new soul. Brand new, totally new. It's not the soul of someone before reincarnated. No, it's a totally new soul. Okay. Even the argument here is against. Is against reincarnation, because if there is reincarnation, we should have the same DNA. Okay. So. Page 4, well, there is a current we call traducianist. They say that the unique cause, the sole cause of the soul of the parent. Of course, that was rejected by the, because for the reason we will see. So the unique possibility, finally, they cannot come from the parent, because the parent cannot produce a spiritual reality. We are not spiritual by ourselves. We are spiritual because we receive. So we cannot define. We cannot. No, the soul must be made by neither the father nor the mother. So by our Father who are in heaven. So creationism. The parent have the task of forming the body, predisposing living matter to receive a human form. So the form is prepared. That means they have everything. They have to have a human cell. But the motion of the human cell cannot come from the father, neither nor from the mother. The form itself derives directly from the cooperative and creative action of God, not from the generative act. And that here is important, because that is the foundation of the sacred dimension of marriage, of the sexuality. Here, that's the foundation of human sexuality is here. Because when people unite, If they prepare what is necessary to give life, God gives life. That means they engage God, if you want, to give life. Like the same thing, can I say the Mass at any time? I cannot say the Mass. I must obey the law of the church to say the Mass. I cannot consecrate a truck of bread. In the state of Canada, we have different priests, apostate, and we consecrated a truck of bread. A truck of bread. And all that is consecrated. And I saw in the movie, a priest consecrated, he was drinking, and he consecrated, he was an apostate, a bottle of wine. Jesus obeyed even apostate priest. But we must do the Mass according to the will of God. So we can give life anyway, but God wants to give life according to His law. Yeah. That's the reason why in every culture, life is united with sacred dimension. Life is related with religion, with God. Every culture. In every culture you have some laws about life. Life is sacred. That is everywhere. Everywhere, even the primitive. Okay? So the new soul is an entirely new actuality, a brand new. It does not potentiality or actuality pre-exist. By the new soul, the matter disposed by the parent first become a human. The parent co-create with God. That's the dignity of marriage. The parent as the co-creator. The sexual activity are sacred. God gave that to create life. Jesus, what he said at the end of the Holy Thursday, he said, "Do this in memory of me." That means every time you will celebrate the Mass, I will transform, the Holy Spirit will transform bread and wine into my body and blood. It's the same for God. When God says, "Go and multiply," you say that in the Bible. That means you have that activity we call sexual activity. It is to give life, and when you will do that, I will be there to give life. You know. So that actually is the reason why sometimes they say, "Oh, the church or morality has nothing to do with that." Yes, we have to think. We are not simple animals. Of course, there is no marriage before a dog priest for a marriage between a dog and a bitch. There is no marriage for them because they are not rational. But we are rational. That means every action, especially giving life, because it's a so great responsibility. But when a dog gives life to a little God, but a dog but when you give life to a boy, a girl, it is for at least 18 years of responsibility. And for a Christian, it is for eternity. The responsibility is not only deserved, it is for the future. It is excessively important. And to take care, to be aware, is not only a mechanical action, it is a personal action with reason, with the will. It is a military action when it is good, accomplished according to the will of God. So matter is predisposed by the parent, so the body is the matter, and the soul, the form cannot come from the matter, but come from God. That means must be created. Every time a child is born, is conceived, it is an act of creation. The soul can exist only through creation. And I go under the rectangle here. And the human nature is the union of the body and soul into one being, one person. Is no more the cell of the father and the mother. It is the chromosome, the DNA, the cell of a new person. A new person with, if it is a person, he has or she has a right. That means, what is the first right for a fetus? For the first cell is to exist. So we must respect life at the beginning. At the beginning. Therefore, the individual man cannot exist before the consummation of this union. So next page, the adoption of the creationist theory is not a step that is easily taken because they imply a part of mystery. For example, when, we cannot say when. How, we cannot say how. Only we can say this is a fact. And that fact can be explained only by God. Not by matter, not by the Father, not by the Mother, only by God. So life is sacred because it's a creation, a direct creation from God. This is the reason why we must respect every life. Even a gangster must be respected. Okay? A criminal. Secondly, the creationist theory is taken only because no other explanation is satisfying. So now, we will speak about that a little bit further, but now we have to speak about the problem of individuation. I think, did I explain that in class here, the individuation? Okay, if I explain, I will explain again because it is very important in theology. Individual. That means, what makes me an individual? What makes me Michel Legault? I. What makes me different from each of you? Okay. Are we different because we have the same species, the same form, nationality? No. We are the same through the form. What is man? Man is a rational animal. Okay? So we say we share in the same form, intellective form. We are the same. I am no more a man than you. The little baby is no more is not less a man than his grandfather. Age has nothing to do. The first cell already we are human beings. Okay? So we are the same. So we cannot say we are different through our soul, through our intellect. How is it possible that we are the same species and we are different? That is the question. What makes us different? Okay, so we study before that material reality, and we are material reality, as made with matter and form. Okay, and you remember also that the matter is indeterminate, is a principle of indetermination. Well, first matter, that is true, is clear, but first matter does not exist. For example, you have a tree, you have a chair, you have a desk. What is that? Wood? No? It's wood. The tree is not chocolate. It's tree. It's wood. Wood, wood, wood. So there is wood in itself is no more a tree, is no more a desk, is no more, it is wood. Indeterminate, to become many things. So the matter is determinable. That theory, we call that polymorphism. So we are not different by our matter. In the case of man, what is composing our cells? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, calcium, potassium, iron, many things. I am a heap of atoms of calcium, carbon, hydrogen, etc. You know that, okay? So we are the same. Even my dog has the same thing. So does matter make us different? Matter in itself, my atom of carbon exists since the beginning of the world. Think about that. The element of your body exists since the beginning of the world. They are old. Why? Because in chemistry, we know, Lavoisier, the scientist, proof. Nothing is created, nothing is annihilated, everything is transformed. That's the law of science. Okay, you study that. Transformed in energy or matter. Okay, so everything is transformed. That means matter, atom of carbon, hydrogen, calcium, they can become anything. They can become a butterfly, they can become a man, they can become a monkey, they can anything. Therefore, we are not determined as individual by my matter. Because my matter, I share that with everyone. I cannot be individual by my soul first. Because my soul is the species. I share the same intellective power as all men, the same intellective appetite as all men and women. So how I can be different? That is the question. What makes me an individual? Individual. What is a person? A person is an individual that is intelligent and free. That question was very important. The Middle East, they discussed that a lot. Individual. So, okay. I take 10 cups in the kitchen, no? 10 cups. Okay, 10 cups. They are exactly the same, made in China, by the same Chinese man. We're using the same machine. Identical. Composed with the same atom of clay, exactly the same. What is possible that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cups? And the cup number 1 is not the cup number 2, but they are the same. But they are not the same. What makes me different?
Quantity.
Exact quantity. Quantity. It is because my matter is quantified. Is quantified. Quantify matter. Now, why it is quantity? Why? Because one of the property of quantity, it is impenetrability. That means an atom cannot take the place exactly, two atoms cannot take the same place at the same time. Impossible. If you put a cup here, and you put the other cup, then the first cup will move. Even two twin brothers are not identical. We say identical brother, but they are different. Brother number 1, brother number 2, and one of the people, they have 6 children at the same time, sexplet, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they are different. They are very similar, but they are different through their quantity. So the principle of individualization or intuition is quantify matter. Because the matter cannot, when the matter is quantified, that means precise. For example, a plank of wood and another plank of wood, the same size, the same, cannot take the same space at the same time. Oh, you see, oh no, Father, there is an exception. Oh yeah, yes. Why? You know, you put a liter of gas, you have a liter of gas here, hydrogen, and you have a liter of oxygen. And you say, Father, I can put all that gas here. I can do that. It's true, you can do that. But what happens as a consequence? The pressure will double. If, for example, you have one pressure and you add the other, you will have 2. So the pressure and the weight also. The weight of the gas will be double. That is a proof that matter, quantified matter, make us different. So we are not different by our atoms, material atoms. We are not different by the fact we are intelligent and free. In fact, we are the same. It is, we call the personhood. My personhood, my person, the quality of my person. or my person. I different as personality. First, because I have a quantified matter. What is for us a quantified matter? It is the body. My body is a quantified matter. It's not only matter. My body is a quantified matter. And what is the importance of that? It is when God gives you this, give you life, give life to the first set, give life to the quantified matter. When they give life to quantified matter, the soul becomes the form of this body. So it is the form of my body. And that is my soul. So my soul is the form of my body. That means my soul is individual. They become individual because of my quantified body. You follow me? There are great consequences. Because if you understand that my soul is determined, not for exist, but is individualized, become an individual. My soul is not your soul. Even if you share the same power, we think, etc. Because of my body, and my body is quantified matter. Therefore, my soul is my and not yours. So our souls are spiritual, but they are different because they are the form of a quantified matter, a body. Okay? Now you die. Huh? No, not yet. And your body is not there, but your soul continue to be an individual soul because of that. Your soul continued to be the form of a body. Okay, I say my body, but which body? If you are 30 years old, it is your fourth body. I mean, your cells continually are changing, repairing. That is scientific. So that means my soul continued to exist as individual, but as the form of a body, not as the form of a cat, as the form of a body. And that is important. Why? For the dogma of resurrection. If I am a Platonician, I cannot accept the resurrection of the body. I read the St. Paul, for example, when he was in Athens, he spoke to the Areopagists. He said, I have a good news, Jesus. God come. Oh, interesting. He come on earth, God. He died. He was liberated. No, I have a better news. He resurrected. What they said? Come another day to tell us your tale. They were not able to accept that. But Aristotelian, who is aware that the soul is the form of a body, continue the form. That means when there will be a resurrection, it will be an individual form, animated body. It will be maybe my 12th body, 11 on earth and one after. You know, I cannot prove the resurrection. We cannot prove that. It's a dogma of faith. We have that through revelation. But we can say that the philosophy of Aristotle, what we study with Father Reichman, all that, is a good waiting block for resurrection. Okay? Because the problem is there. For pantheists, after that, we are merged in the big soul. The soul of God and my soul, like a soup. A big soup. Yes.
When resurrection is the way the soul united with the body, the same way when at the moment of conception, Father?
I don't know. But I know I will resurrect. My soul will become the soul of a body. It becomes the soul of a body. That body, united with my soul, will be my eternal body. But that is faith. Okay? It's fake. I'm not a theologian. I am a poor pagan teacher. I teach a pagan philosopher. But used by sanctified by St. Thomas. Yes.
Now, when a person is died, even after 2-3 years, sometimes we used to refer to his name personally. For an example, we remember saints. We remember Saint Francis of Assisi. So, are we indirectly referring to the soul as such? Or
The soul. Yes, because now they have nobody except Mary.
Yeah, the person is no more. So we.
But their soul is a personal soul.
Yeah.
You know, what makes me a person is not is especially my soul. No? Animating my body. My body is changing. Is the reason why that's very important for judgment, for responsibility. Because I am the form, continue of a body, I have a responsibility in front of God after my death. We can communicate between because we have form. What is the power of the soul? The intellect and the will, and they are spiritual. That means we can communicate between us. Huh? Now how? I don't know. Surely not through reasoning, because we cannot reason, but we can communicate directly by intuition. You can give the insight. Imagine, huh? We will understand mathematics without any effort. I would meet my brother, who is very good in mathematics, I say, okay, pass me your knowledge. And then I understand. Transfusion of knowledge. Okay, you can imagine what you want. Huh? But probably if you go to page 10, number 3.8, no theory of transmigration of soul, metempsychosis, can be accepted. My soul is not transmigrated into a butterfly or into a dog or into a camel. No. Anyway, those who know very metempsychosis is not a reward, it is a punishment. Punishment. No, the soul as is existent only for the moment it actually informs the body and become individualized by the body at the very moment of the union. So we can say only that. How can happen even after the moment of resurrection, we don't know. But what we know, if I have a body in eternal life, because my soul, immortal soul, will inform that body. Will it be exactly the same atoms? No. Surely not. No. It's not necessary, because look at yourself in the mirror. You are not the same, you don't have the same atoms you have when you were born. The atom changed. No, this is very secondary. You know, they say, oh, if you are eaten by a crocodile, the crocodile eats you, a lion eats you, it's a big problem for resurrection. We have to take you from the lion, and no, there is no problem. No problem. We are dust, we come back to dust, and God can create a new body without any problem. The problem is not that. The problem is the permanence of my soul as an individual. And that is very important because of responsibility. I have responsibility after death of what I did on earth because of that. Yes, brother.
So, hey, Father, there's some Buddhism believe that when the body dies, so the soul is present to the animal.
Yeah, so transmigration. Yes. We call that metempsychosis. Huh? Metempsychosis. The transmigration, meta, transmigration. And the soul starts from you, abandon your body, and go into a monkey. And the monkey. And when he look at you in the zoo, oh, I recognize you when you were studying philosophy. Another problem. You know, if you don't imagine, the number of ants, little ants, you know? Billion and billion and billion and billion. Imagine if they must be animated by human soul. Where can we take all those human souls? Mathematically, it's impossible. Animals are not animated by human soul. They have their own form. The different, their form is not immortal because they are attached to matter and for their activity. We are above matter. Okay. I go to page 10. So at the top, no, in fact, there is no pre-existence of the soul. The soul of the human does not in any way exist prior to its union with the body. The human soul does not exist within the soul of the parent. It is here a kind of summary of what we said before. The human soul does not exist in the essence of God, because we are not God. Of course, we exist in potentiality. God knows us for all eternity, but He did not know us as actual, but uniquely as potential. In fact, God knows everything He does. He knows. He cannot do anything without knowing. So He knows if I exist today because God knows me for all eternity. Okay? But it is the same for a butterfly. Because, well, we studied the philosophy of God. Okay? I continue. If I did, I could only can be singular, and this will straightway rule of the possibility of there being of the one human being. And the union of the soul with body could not be an essential but only accidental union. That means if my soul can jump from my body into the body of a monkey or of a butterfly, that means my union, the form was only accidental. My union with my body is not accidental, is substantial. So that means my soul can only be united to a human body.
Yeah, Father, what happened is we in life we sometimes we see the soul of the dead man, they come into another and they do the different way the person.
You saw that?
Yeah. Yes.
You saw it?
Yeah. They talk and they do something. Yeah.
I know there is a phenomenon that someone affirmed that when they were, for example, hurt by a car, their soul detached from the body and they saw a thing about. I can say nothing. Believe it or not, it's up to you. But anyway, even if your soul floats in the air, it is the soul of your body. Even when you are dead, your soul continues the soul of your body. But not this body. Your body, when you are 3 years old, is not the same when you are 30 years old. But it is your soul and your body. My body is changing, but my soul is permanent as I. So what assures my I? It is not my body. My body is changing. My body changed a lot in my life, you know. But it is my soul. I am myself by my soul, but my soul cannot be my soul if it is not united with a quantified body. In fact, we see here the intimate union of body and soul. My body cannot exist without my soul, and my soul cannot be individual without a quantified body. Okay? You understand that? But okay. There is a movie every day, I don't know which, they speak about ghosts and spirit and you see the soul. I saw that in Homer Simpson. And but it's Homer Simpson, the next then his soul is going off his body. It's not impossible because many people said that. But was there a real death? We don't know. And we have to hold what is solid, firm. What is firm? my individuation is made by my quantified matter, but my quantified matter cannot be living without my soul. So my soul is determined as an individual by my quantified matter. Well, that is the substantial union, body and soul. Okay. If you go to number 3.8 on page 10, no theory. Okay, we spoke about that. I don't want to come on that. Page 11, individuation. I already spoke about that. Huh? So the immaterial nature of the soul guarantees the permanency of the individual imprint of the body upon it. You know. So the soul is immaterial. The soul is informing the body, but informing this body, huh? That my body. In fact, I cannot. I am soul and body. I cannot say I am only a soul. I don't eat. I don't sleep. I am a soul. I pray. I am a soul. No, I cannot say I am only a body. I drink. I eat. No, we are both. No, it's true. We are both, and that is the challenge to be a human person. Angels have no problem with that. They are pure spirit. They have no problem in indigestion and gluttony. No, a single angel accused of gluttony. They cannot be drunken. They have nobody. They don't have the privilege to taste wine. Some saints, they say the angels are jealous of men because they cannot receive the Holy Eucharist. To receive the Holy Eucharist must have a body. A body is a good thing. And the unions, I cannot separate that. We can distinguish, but we cannot separate. Okay?
The soul of the is it from the eternity, so is it out of form?
That my soul is
the
for
form
all
of
eternity, the same form.
Is it before the moment of conception or after that?
My soul did not exist before the moment of conception. My soul exists at the moment of conception.
And from there it exists for eternity.
Eternity, for all eternity. All eternity, okay? No. And the second reason, nothing can exist outside the mind as a universal thing. My soul exists as an individual. Existence is for individual. Universal concept, except for Plato, don't exist. For Plato, the universal idea of horse is the real horse. The horse in the field is not only an appearance of horse. That is the theory of Plato, but we don't accept that. No? The individual, the thing that exists must be individual. A being, when you study metaphysics, the being must be one. And the being one is different, is adequate, is different, is other. Okay? Now I go to that, I have 10 minutes for the last, the beginning of life. Well, I don't want to speak about the progress of genetics. You know, Aristotle said that takes 40 days to form a human, that the fetus become a human body, and women 80 days. Well, that is what we are sure. Now we possess a knowledge of biology that helps us to understand better what is life and when life begins. Okay? So, go in the middle of the page. Genetics is really more rightly viewed as strictly 20th century science. So forget what Plato, Aristotle said about genetics. Forget what St. Thomas said about that, because some pro-abortion use St. Thomas, because St. Thomas said, I become a human being only at 40 days, and women for 80 days. So you can kill before that. It's not abortion. No, it's abortion for the first cell. That St. Thomas did not know that. He ignored that. So you can say with great humility, St. Thomas, you are a genius, but you know, I know better than you what is life. And St. Thomas, he is a nice man, he will say, you are right. You are right. Yes.
You are right.
Okay. In fact, the one who began to study biology is Aristotle. Aristotle was the first to codify, but he has no microscope. we have a microscope, we can see now inside the cell. We have a possibility to know much better than the Middle Age. Okay, page 15 in the middle, where Aristotle was a progress. The first we have a vegetative soul, after that sentient soul, after that human soul. But that theory is no more accepted today. In fact, we have only one form, and one is, the principle is the following. The superior can do what the inferior can do. That means if the soul, the human soul, is superior to the rest, that soul can assume the other function. If I can raise 500 pounds, I can raise 300 and 100. So that means we don't need a vegetative soul. My human soul is informing the cell at the first time, and that soul is provoking vegetative and sentient growth of my body. We don't have three souls. We change. No, the same soul is assuming everything. Okay? Who can do more, can do less. What can do more, can do less. Page 14. So human soul is present at the conception, and the paragraph 482, excessively important. Today, I read it, is scientific evidence that all the development of elements of the mature and already present from the initial moment of the union of sperm and ovum, determinant of the color of the eye, the size of shape of the mouth, etc., already there is individuation. In the first cell, there is individuation. So the first cell makes me individual, and when the soul animates that first cell, is no more an individual, it is a person. I am a human being. Not only I have a body, I have a human life, body and soul. So we have everything. In the first cell, you have the chromosome, the DNA, the programmation for the rest of everything. The cell you will have in 10 years, because you have to eat, those cells will have the same programmation as the cell you have in the first cell. The same thing. And that is, it's about, and I continue, number 48.3. Scientific evidence strongly support, that is very important for pro-life. Human life actually begins at the moment of conception. The very process of embryonic development, fetal and human, is rendered intelligible only if, very important, only if, you remember the biconditional in physics, in logic, if it is held that the human organizing principle, the soul or the enteliki, is initially present at the conception. Initially present. That means we cannot have any organization, any programmation without the presence of the principle of organization. So if the scientists are able to see in the first cell the programmation we call DNA or the chromosome, if they are there, they are already programmed in the first cell because the soul is already programmed. The principle of programmation is not the matter itself, because the matter cannot put mind in the matter. It must be a spiritual principle putting into the matter the programmation. In fact, the source of life, the principle of life, the enteliki, is what we call the human soul. And finally, the next page, page 15. So the soul itself is the unifying factor of all living, a living being, making it a living human substance. So what makes me one as a substance? What makes me I? Because I have a soul, a human soul, spiritual soul, animating, programming, organizing my matter, my quantified matter. So that is, well, you can read that here. Huh? The soul provides the program, the program of development stages through the zygote, that's the first cell, and the embryon after that, and then the fetus. In fact, what makes that it is my soul. The mother, by accept, of course, if you have a Marxist, you will say it's the mother doing that. But if we are a dualist, we accept, as we proved before, that man must have a spiritual principle of life. Now you are obliged to say that life is at the beginning. The first cell must be a human cell. The first cell must be animated by a human soul. And there is no two human souls, there is only one human soul from the beginning to the end, assuring the permanence of your I, of your identity. I am I, not because my body changed. And when I look at myself in the mirror, and once I look at myself when I was a kid, oh, I was so cute. I am no more cute now. But I am the same, because I am the same principle. The same principle from the beginning to the end. And not to the end of life on earth. Continue forever. Ever. Okay? So the embryo is a human being that is supporting from contemporary genetic theory. The paragraph we studied this morning is very useful when you want to speak about life, respect of life. You know the problem. The problem for me, many defend life, but they have no scientific reason for that. Here we have scientific reason. No? You say, oh, because God created us. Yes, it's a good reason, but people need a scientific reason. In that, Father Reichman, he gave you in that chapter very good insight. He said, why we are a human being from the first cell? Why? In that, you know, if you are attentive, to say that, you must know the 12 precedent chapter. Because, in fact, that chapter this morning in next class are the coronation of what we studied before. Everything we studied before prepare to affirm that. Especially the spirituality of the human soul. When we study on the operations of the human mind, intellection, abstraction, reflection, and when we study free will and the power of able to control my own appetite, etc., all those were preparing, confirming us in the spirituality of the human soul. And because of that, now we can affirm that soul we have is permanent forever. Therefore, will be my soul for all eternity. Is that faith? That is reason. It's interesting to see here how faith and reason meet, embrace. Like justice and love embrace, we can write faith and reason embrace when you speak about that. And now you speak about that, you don't speak with him from emotion. You speak from your reason. So we must master that. It's not difficult. But if you have that, you assimilate that, you go back to your hospital, you go back to your parish, you discuss with people, you have some argument to give them. Okay? That, in fact, what I give this morning is a class of bioethics. Bioethics. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.